I always find that, this is like one of the troubling things to me when people only use magic because they need a new job, or they use magic to like get things basically that a normal person can get without calling on occult forces and otherworldly spirits and so on and so forth. Like,
What makes it easier?
it does make it, yeah. Oh, look, you do both parts of it, but there's a lot of people who will just sit at home and do a ritual and expect like shit to pop into their lap without doing the work themselves.
It's called agoraphobia.
Let's see, is there anything I'm forgetting here? Yeah, the big thing, if you do research on this ritual, the major thing that you'll find is academics who are arguing with different interpretations of it. And, well, you can be an academic and argue with this stuff. It's kind of pointless at the end of the day because they're not actually doing anything. One of my big arguments with like the whole Skinner thing is he came up with his like revised magician's tables or whatever, and here's the complete and accurate version. And I was like, does it matter really? Like, if people are getting results with 777, why not use 777? Are people getting results or not? Are you going to come up with a version that no one could ever memorize? And this is the whole like tendency towards academic credibility, which comes back to the whole like rephrasing angels and demons and stuff like that as something that's a little more acceptable or whatever we can talk about in polite society without people going, but really, who cares? What do we gain? My major point. Let's see. I think that in the practical sense, we've covered pretty much everything. So that's good. Does anyone have like a question about practically how to do the ritual, something they think isn't clear or needs to be expanded on, or something like that?
Do you have to do it the way Chloe teaches you to do it?
Oh yeah, I kind of addressed this before you were on briefly.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. Sorry. Just yeah, like there's more room for variation with this because it's kind of more of a traditional thing. Yeah, but I would advise starting off doing it the way Crowley does it, and then if you're gonna fuck with the program, fuck with it later. Like to do it that way first. What's up?
If like me as a female were to do it, is it okay to change the gender around?
Oh, that's a good one. No, it isn't. When the phallic thing, the phallic stuff that comes up in there is actually, because there's one, actually I should get into this with the visualizations, because it talks about using the phallic, Crowley uses the word phallic very specifically in pushing out. So essentially when you're talking about like expanding your consciousness, you have a giant astral penis, and that's crucial to the ritual itself, that's pushing out there. But the concept of phallus and phallic energy is actually gender neutral. It's actually, the word phallus precludes the association to penis. It's sort of something that came after. So it's a concept that later we said, okay, penises are like this, so we're going to associate penises like it. It's the concept of projection and pushing out there. So that, because if you reverse the genders, then it would be more of a taking in, and that's the opposite of whether you could do a ritual like that, but it wouldn't be the Bornless Invocation. Yeah,
How come in the Kabbalic tradition it was always from one father to son? How come girls were never involved in learning the Kabbalic?
Girls aren't involved in a lot of things. That's just one more example of that, basically. You would have to ask someone else what the like sort of scriptural justification would be, but I mean, that's the way it goes. I don't know what else to say.
Because I was just wondering if there's a magical significance to that, or if it was just plain old-fashioned male chauvinism.
Probably were able to argue a magical significance into it, but you could pretty much do that anyway.
Yeah.
What? I'm sorry?
I was just saying they probably would have argued some kind of magical significance into it, but it's just like rationalizing. You can pretty much rationalize anything.
Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the true reason.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just maybe they just want to keep you out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, like, there's a lot of things that are excluded. Like I said, it's just the firstborn son, too. So it isn't necessarily strictly a male thing. It's a direct, firstborn line type thing. It's a very exclusive tradition. And, traditionally, you wouldn't even be allowed to learn it until you were at least, like, I think, 40 years old. I think that's That's the rule. So
40 with children.
yeah, because you have to be able to like have already reproduced. It's certain Hindu traditions are like that too. It's like before you can renounce everything and become a yogi, you have to have a family, get that family stable, stuff like that. Then you just kind of leave the world and go off to the monastery for the rest of your life or whatever. But you're required to like propagate your line first or whatever.
Is the Kabbalah tradition still like that? Nowadays?
In Orthodox circles, yes. I mean,
But
right now,
it's loosened up.
in modern, no. See, in modern times, you can say Kabbalah and mean about 500 different things. Like, literally, Kabbalah just means tradition. So, if you want to take it literally, then the tradition would only be among an Orthodox Jewish crowd above the age of 40, firstborn son of someone else who taught it to them, basically.
So all these different authors coming out with these books about the Kabbalah, it's not really
No, it's not.
traditional.
It's not traditional at all. Actually, to come out with a book about the Kabbalah, traditionally speaking, would be a big no-no.
Have you ever visited that Kabbalah center they have here in Toronto? No, I went to one of their things.
They charge too much money to be legitimate.
Yeah,
if you
I
ask
know.
me, but what do I know?
They gave me a free book though. I never read
Yeah,
it.
anyone trying to line their pockets with this stuff is kind of not,
Yeah.
it's not the point.
I'm curious enough to one day maybe purchase one of their astrology books. One of these days. I've already got like a million other ones I want to
You hit up the
purchase.
Scientology place and got a book on
Yeah, they
dogmas.
boarded that all up. I saw that.
Yeah, the big thing about the sacred magic stuff is because it does contain Kabbalistic elements. Like that's sort of what makes it significant and the reason that it's out there. And the Bornless ritual, like people have tried to like do Kabbalah for like the barbarous names and stuff like that, and just it doesn't really fit at all. It's not what it's for. There's a point in Magic Without Tears that Curly's talking about barbarous words and the use of barbarous words in a ritual, and how just like sometimes even just like pure nonsense that has no correspondence to anything can be a very powerful thing to come out of you. He doesn't go as far as like this speaking in tongues sort of tradition, but it's just like, if this is getting you where you need to be, to have the authority to command the spirit or do what you need to do or manifest the power that you need to manifest, then go for it, so be it. But again, it comes back to success is your proof.
On the note of the barbarous names, Crowley specifically in Lieberson pretty much defines them as per his sort of definition of them, which there's that argument that they're supposed to be barbarous for a reason, that
Right.
the interpretation is actually detrimental or whatever. What's your take on that?
I think that his little poems after them or whatever, his little like lines for them are like useful. I don't use them myself anymore, but I used them for years when I started, so I kind of like have it in my head when I say it now. I think that it all depends on what gets a result for people, really. Like, it always comes back to that, right? I'm not interested in necessarily the most historically accurate version. It's the version that
So
gets the result.
keep on mentioning results, like what exactly defines as results?
Well, that's why you got to have a clear goal. It's like, I'm doing this to achieve this, and then it's on this timeline, therefore I either achieved it or I didn't achieve it,
Like achieve what exactly?
Well, it depends. I mean, if you're using if you're using the Bornless Invocation as a preliminary to the Goetia, then that's a pretty easy one. Does the spirit show up or doesn't it? Does it do what I say or doesn't it?
Okay.
If you're using the Bornless Invocation to get in touch with the Holy Guardian Angel, well, did you have a result when you were trying to? The whole that's where the struggle with the will of the angel thing becomes important, because if you don't get the sense of struggle or conflict in there, then there's obviously nothing on the other side.